from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we are back today with the 89th Disney feature-length film from March the 21st of 1968. It is a film called, ready for this, the longest name in Disney history, The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band. Now, disclosure, I don't actually know if this is the longest Disney name in history. I guess we can work
To this
on that
point.
when we get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words.
I would say to this point.
Probably. The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band is a film that is based on a biography by Laura Bauer Van Nuys. It does have some original music and lyrics by the Sherman Brothers. The Sherman Brothers are back. Some of our stars. There's a lot of familiar faces in this film. It's kind of like the get them all in there family reunion. Walter Brennan, who was in Those Callaways and the Gnome-Mobile. Leslie Ann Warren and John Davidson, who were both just recently in The Happiest Millionaire. They were the couple in The Happiest Millionaire. Buddy Ebsen, who was George in the Davy Crockett films, and he was Jed Clampett in the Bedford Hillbillies, but that wasn't one of our films. Our friend Kurt Russell is back.
I still don't understand when we watched the other films with him in it, how I did not recognize he was Jed Clampett. But when we watched this one, I was like, I swear this was the guy that's Jed Clampett, and I don't know how it hit me then. Maybe
because he's older now. That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, but those were in color too. I was gonna say maybe it's because it was in black.
But it was also like I said, it was 10
Beverly
years ago.
Hillbillies. Well,
it was after this, I would assume.
I was gonna say, was that in color or not?
Yeah, of course, probably. But either way, while you're figuring that out, this also has the return of our friend Kurt Russell. And it is the film debut of the future Mrs. Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn. This is Goldie Hawn's first movie as well. They obviously didn't connect romantically until many years later, but this is their first time on film together. How would you start us off with a synopsis or some opening thoughts about The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band?
Sure. The 11 members of the Bauer family move to Dakota Territory. That's your synopsis.
The synopsis is shorter than the words of the film. Word has it that this is the final film that Walt had any involvement in. Which is sad because he did pass away the year before. I know that we have said in the last couple films in different ways that it was Walt's last time working on different things, but this is supposedly the last time that he's done anything on a film. But would you like to start us off? You have any facts or thoughts, or would you like to just dive right into The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band?
You done?
Well, I mean, the words. So I did like a thesaurus for how many words there.
All right. So I am just going to dive on in.
Okay.
So this film opens up with a little musical number in the barn with a lot of familiar faces, like you said. I have never heard of this film, so it was not something that I had on my radar of how to gauge it. And I was kind of surprised at how many familiar faces there were. But I would have obviously not known any of those faces either had we not got to the point where we're at today with the 60
So
ninth movie. Or is this 60? No, 80.
89th
Ninth
movie.
movie.
So what you're saying is that it's not really the original Demi Band because they're all just people that we've seen before. Yeah.
Well, they're not the original family for sure. Anyway, I kind of would have liked to see Fred McMurray as the dad in this movie.
I mean,
I think he would have done well.
He's got enough on his plate.
I know, but I think he would have done anyway. So, more thoughts here. Alice, the daughter, the oldest daughter, has the worst bangs I have ever seen in my entire
Is it
life.
the girl from The Happiest Millionaire?
Yes. They were like kind of straight bangs, but then they go all the way down to here. I don't know, but the rest of the hair is not that length. I don't know who decided to do that, but I'm glad that was never a phase.
Maybe it was the fashion when Grover Cleveland was the president.
No idea. I know that if you like the band Paramore, people have often said, "Oh my God, Hayley Williams sometimes has the worst bangs,"
She has the worst a lot of things.
And I don't think she does. Anyway, I don't think any of her bangs have ever been this bad. That's how bad these bangs were. Just to make Jeffrey happy. If I find a picture of those bangs, it's gonna go right here.
The one and only original
terrible
family
bangs.
Yes. All right, go for it.
All right. So she sings a number about being the happiest girl alive, like she's reliving The Happiest Millionaire, but with terrible hair and Ashley Simpson lip syncing skills. Do you want to touch on that?
You're dating us. No, go ahead.
Do you want to? So at this point, I think
Ashley Simpson's way more talented than
oh yeah,
than
definitely.
Hayley Williams.
Yes. No. That is not. I was going to say this girl, yes. So during this part, it really bothered me because the way her lips were moving were not quite matching up with how her lips were probably been moving if she was actually singing the song. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then we discover through the family talking and stuff that Alice is infatuated with someone named Joe that she's been writing. Which again, we are reliving The Happiest Millionaire because that's the guy from Happiest Millionaire. And Grandpa can't stand him because he's a Republican.
It's true.
Keep that in mind. It's going to be a big part in this movie.
Oh, it is the part of this movie.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, so somebody shows up. Alice thinks it's Joe, and then we discover that she's actually mistaken Joe for Henry Carter. And Henry had came to talk to Grandpa about the Bauer family band petitions because they had wanted to sing a rally song for President Grover Cleveland at the Democratic National Committee.
Correct.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, so you're not Joe." And I'm sitting there thinking, you've been writing a letter, you put pictures in there, and you told him you wouldn't have recognized him by his picture. This guy is clearly way over this guy, Joe, but whatever.
It could be like,
she's like, "I wouldn't have recognized you with your mustache."
What's the word for it? Like
catfishing?
Catfishing.
Catfishing in the 1880s.
I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? Okay, keep going.
Anyway, we find out that Katie, which is the mother, doesn't like politics to be discussed in the house because Grandpa basically tells Henry that, and he's like, we have to go outside the house to have this discussion. So he takes him to the barn. The entire family does their performance in the barn for Henry, and he is just blown away by this performance and tells the family it will definitely put Grover over again. Any thoughts?
They sing the song about President Grover Cleveland. He's president over the 38 states. Let's put Grover over, and it's the time for a man, and Cleveland is the man for the time.
Yeah. So Henry is also, we discovered that Calvin, the father of the family, is a Republican. And Henry is just flabbergasted that Calvin, as a Republican, would be willing to sing this song at the Democratic convention. But Calvin tells him he didn't think that they would appreciate it at the Republican convention. It's just not their kind of song. But he's like, well, who would take your place? And he's like, well, nobody's going to take my place. I'm going to sing my song. And basically tells him, I mean, I can put my thoughts and sides to the side to do this, but just kind of blown away. Then Joe shows up, and I guess he ends up seeing Alice like clowning around in the barn after their performance.
She was like singing and stuff. So
yeah,
she was nervous.
After she gets so embarrassed and just like runs off through the fields. In the end, he tells her that he's never seen anyone clown around and look so beautiful at the same time. And he also admits that he was worried that when they met that it would be stuck up and formal like their letters. So I guess you could say she had a better impression on him in person than she did in the letters. And then Joe Carter is basically urging the family that you guys should move to the Dakota Territory because we aren't just looking for anybody, but the right people, which is apparently Republicans is who they're looking for.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then it gets to be like a whole thing. And that's when Grandpa is standing outside making popcorn, it looked like. And he just pitches a fit about misguided Republicans. And then Mother, Katie, shuts him down, saying that there's no politics in the house, and she considers the summer kitchen part of the house.
Yeah, the porch, the summer kitchen.
Well, I guess it's because whatever he was cooking on was obviously part of the kitchen, but I thought that was funny. So then that kind of goes away, and then they go to watch Joe give this speech later on, and I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to bring Grandpa, but they brought Grandpa anyway. So Joe gives his speech about Dakota, and while the Grandpa Bear is just the biggest Democrat ever, he's causing trouble left and right. He is definitely wanting to put Grover over again.
Because he's the man for the time or whatever.
Yeah. And then he gets all upset and he basically says, I'm going to find out if we are still in the United States or if we made a wrong turn back there whenever they end up moving to Dakota. Because it like quickly went from this pro Republican move to Dakota rally to them being in Dakota. There wasn't really much in between the two. So then they moved to Dakota. Grandpa makes all the Republicans upset because he has the kids singing the pro rally song outside. They're all upset. In the end, Joe's trying to like kill them. Well, he doesn't mean anything by this. He's just trying to do good. Da, da, da.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're basically telling him he can't be doing that. And that's when he's like, well, I'm going to find out if we're still in the United States or if we made a wrong turn back there. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, not yet.
So, like I said, the Dakota residents there are pretty much majority Republican. There's a few Democrats there. And what they're hoping to do is get the territory admitted into North and South Dakota. So that way, instead of it being just one Dakota, they can end up sending more senators to Washington. And with both of the Dakota territories, if they get to be the territory, they're going to be Republican. So then you get two more senators,
votes, yep.
To send out there. Fun electoral college. So anyway, Grandpa just causes a lot of trouble with the family. It almost costs Alice her position.
Yeah, it causes like a whole riot of people when they sing the song and everything.
Yeah. And then somehow Alice had the education to be a teacher. I don't know. That wasn't really ever touched on until she got there. And then we find out that she was asked to be the teacher. I don't know. Then it comes to be like the first day of school. Alice is supposed to go do her teaching stuff, and all the kids are being sent off for their first day of school because they haven't had school in forever because they haven't had a teacher. And Joe comes and tells her, well, there's been some questions about your credentials, so we have to go have a meeting, which made no sense.
Yeah, so they basically have to cancel school because there's no teacher again.
Yeah. So Joe asked Grandpa to go to the school and tell the kids there's going to be no school today and send them home. But during this
Sound
time,
plan.
yeah, I don't know what he was thinking or what she was thinking or anybody in that family was thinking. They obviously weren't. So the one and only not
Genuine,
thinking family
original
band.
family band.
So Grandpa goes there, and this little girl was crying because she can't stay at school.
She got all dressed up for
She
school.
got all dressed up. She got ready, and I had a day like that. My first day of school, I don't remember what year it was. I remember being in elementary school, and I didn't want to go to school ever, but the first day of school, I didn't mind going. And school got canceled, and I remember crying. But I got to go home, so I don't really know why I was crying. But anyway, so I could relate to that little girl. So Grandpa has it in his heart that he's going to sit down and try to make things up for this little girl. But then it ends up turning into like,
well, first he calls all the kids back. After he sends them all away, he calls all the kids back.
And then he just basically has like a little political rally for the kids and saying that these adults are going out here and they're doing these votes to do it their way, but you guys are the ones that's going to have to live with it because you're the next generation. So you should have a say.
I wrote down some of the words to the songs that he was singing. Kept drumming, drumming, drumming while the enemy kept it coming.
Oh, yeah. He was talking about his time during the Civil War, and the kids were arguing with him that it was the Civil War.
And he was like, no, the war between the states.
Yeah. And they were like, no, sir, the book says it's the Civil War. And he was like, well, I'm telling you, I was there. So, yeah, so he had these little songs and just a whole little political rally. And during this time, they're having the meeting to find out if Alice is going to keep her job. Basically, the relationship between Alice and Joe starts to like, I don't know,
crumble.
Yeah. And then the father, Calvin, pulls the grandpa aside and tells him that he needs to stop causing trouble and he needs to definitely get out of the relationship between Joe and Alice because he doesn't like Joe because he doesn't like him being a Republican, but he likes this guy named Ernie because he's a Democrat. Can you imagine if you were like dating somebody and the first time you brought them home and it's like, oh no, you can't date them, they're this political party. Never have I ever heard that. But anyway, so Grandpa's just bound and determined to set her up with somebody that's Democrat, and Calvin, honestly, seems like he could care less. He could put his differences aside, and he's kind of trying to ask Grandpa to do the same. But then Grandpa like pouts about it, and he knows when he isn't wanted, so he just packs his bags. All the kids get upset, and there are so many kids. And
well, they had to build the one and only genuine original family band.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a town meeting to discuss Alice's teaching position. She basically stands up for her grandpa, saying, well, he wasn't meaning to do anything bad. And she was like, well, to be honest, I think the kids need to be taught both sides. And I mean, I kind of agree with her. Like, you need to be taught both sides so that way you can make your own decisions and not have everybody make your decisions for you. So everybody's like, what do you mean both sides? Like, girl, you're not going to get this job. And then she was like, you know what? You can have your teaching job. I quit. Like, I'm not going to do it. So she just like walks out of the entire town meeting. And then she ends up like walking off with Ernie. because Joe runs out trying to like be like, no, listen, you have to talk to me. And he keeps grabbing her by the arm. And then Ernie like walks up to like take her away from him. And she's just like, yeah, I'll go with you. And then just puts her arm in his and like walks the opposite way. And I'm like, wow, this really happened. But then Grandpa walks in to the town meeting. He says his little spiel about things. And let's see. And after he does his little spiel about things and tries to speak his piece on Alice's behalf, Calvin, his son, tells him that he's proud of him.
So right before that, the grandpa says that he won't say any other words about politics if they get his granddaughter back as a teacher and they keep the school open for the kids.
Yeah, and he admits that he wasn't really trying to do what he did, but anyway, at that point, after that, we end up at some sort of election night party dance thing.
So before this, somehow it got up that there was a bet between the grandfather and this Joe dude.
That was like when they first moved to the
town. There was a bet about like if
after he made the entire
Cleveland beats Harrison, or if Harrison beats Cleveland, the loser is going to push the winner in a wheelbarrow or something or whatever. Yeah. All right, back to you.
Okay. So we end up at this election night party dance thing.
The Kevin band is performing.
Yeah. In the end, it ends up being that the more ballots are passed for Cleveland. So the Democrats are celebrating because they're like, we have got this. And then like the Republicans are just kind of like, oh, I can't believe this happened.
He's like ready to push him and like
yeah, and it's kind of like Three Stooges like fight stuff that goes on in between it. And then this guy runs in and he's like waving a piece of paper. He's like, just in. And he's like, well, the Republican nominee Benjamin Harrison has won the Electoral College, so he's the president. He's the new president, and everybody's like, "How can that be?" But we had more votes, and yeah, and he and that's when Grandpa's like, "Well, the Electoral College is like, or not Grandpa, Cleveland, or not Cleveland, Cleveland. I am so tired." Calvin basically tells him, no, the Electoral College is actually what decides things, which I kind of thought was ironic because it's like, how many times in the past few years, the political, like, presidential elections have we been like, wait, what is going on?
Let's just leave the landscape the way it is, but yeah.
Yeah, so the Electoral College basically put a damper for the Democrats, unfortunately.
There's a whole speech about unity.
Yeah, so if we just didn't repeat history again. Anyway, good times for the Electoral College. Somehow this ends up being a food fight. And then it turns into a real fight. And then Ernie somehow gets a red mustache painted on his face. Mm-hmm. Calvin Bauer, the father, quotes his grandfather, saying, there's a time to stand up for what you believe in, and there is time to join hands and work together. And that pretty much stops the fight. And Grandpa's like, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
So then they, Grandpa gives Joe a ride in the wheelbarrow. Mm-hmm. But while this is all taking place, I don't know what the daughter's name is. Alice, like, wants nothing to do with Joe still. So he's like trying to win her back. And
basically does a whole nother Happy Millionaire.
Yeah, so he like decides that he's gonna go for it after all this.
Yeah.
After the grandfather apologizes, he like throws the trumpet, like he grabs her trumpet from like her she's playing in the band. He throws her trumpet off. So then he kisses her, causing her to slap him more. Three Stooges slapstick stuff. Okay. And he picks her up, takes her onto the ride. In the thing too. That goes for you. There you go.
Okay. So anyway, they basically like put their differences aside at this point and realized, you know what, we can all get along, and we don't have to be this way. We can get along and make life better. Which I wish maybe more people should watch this movie. So that way we could just get along. things work better when we all get along. So whatever. But we find out from the guy that came in and just dampered the Democrats' hopes that, hey, guess what? The Electoral College actually says comes back again. More just in. Imagine that. So before he leaves office, Cleveland has granted statehood to both of the Dakotas, and the Republicans are thrilled. And Grandpa's just like, ugh. But he says, wait. But he's also going to grant statehood to Montana and Washington. So that evens
The votes.
the gains for both parties.
Yeah.
And that's what Grandpa says, because he was like, well, I mean, you have to admit, he is a smart man. And he's just leveled the grounds again. So we're back where we started.
Someone goes, that's politics.
And that's statehood, because that was a whole nother song that was going on during this like dance election party. So they're all getting along. Grandpa pushed Joe and Alice in the wheelbarrow. He's a strong little man. And then we find out that towards the end of the movie, Alice and Joe, like he said, have basically made up, and they resolve to live together in peace. And the town seems to be getting along a lot better.
So they start playing some music, and it's the end of the film.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
So do I go first on thoughts here?
Yeah, go ahead. It was not what you thought you were getting into.
No, because the name is the one and only genuine original family band. You're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I love musicals. And it was not that.
Really, it should have been called Republican versus Democrat.
Yeah, Cleveland versus Harrison. So yeah, it was whatever.
Yeah.
I'm happy
Basically,
it.
children, the lesson learned is it's important to know history, because history does repeat itself if we don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So before we dive too much into politics, what did you rate this?
So I gave it a 5 out of 10.
What did IMDb rate it?
6.3 out of 10.
So under the bar there. So then does this
No,
get onto your
the Electoral College didn't put this on my list.
Then what is your list upon a star?
My list upon a star is 101 Dalmatians, The Parent Trap, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, The Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, That Darn Cat, The Three Caballeros, Moon Pilot, and The Shaggy Dog.
So this just in. The results are in. They're in. Oh, it's not making mine either. So mine is 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Babes in Toyland, Pinocchio, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, and The Jungle Book.
You know, though, I was kind of upset we never actually got to see Grandpa and them perform at the Democratic convention.
Nope, because they moved to the Dakotas. But speaking of performances, our next film is number 90.
Woo.
We are 90s kids. Our next film is film number 90 from June of 1968. It is the return of our good friend Dick Van Dyke, and it is a film called Never a Dull Moment, kind of like this podcast, Never a Dull Moment. But speaking of this podcast, we are on Instagram. We are on Spotify. Thank you for listening. Leave us a comment below. We are on YouTube, where you could just watch Winston come join the fun. And again, if you want to leave us a like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. You can email us at deepdivingthemagicpod@gmail.com. Talk about if there was a movie with a longer name than the one and only genuine original family band. I don't think I would even be able to fit it on the list upon a star if I tried to write it in. But either way, we'll be back next time for film number 90, Never a Dull Moment. We'll see you then.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.